We're basically talking about how to deal with loved ones. And we say loved ones could be, people close to us, friends, family, but basically how to deal with them or how to deal with the people who oppose our new lifestyle or a new lifestyle, whether it's, hey, we decided we want to be a little healthier. Maybe we're diagnosed with a disease. And we're like, oh my God, if we don't get healthy, we're going to die. Or we just realize like, maybe there's a better way to go through life. Or maybe we have like a career change. Maybe we want to move up in the world and, whatever. Right. Something that causes us to need to change our lifestyle slightly. And I will also say people that we have been around, people that we build relationships with, right? We get to know a version of who they are. And then if they decide to change that version, if the thing that you like about the person is the version of who they are that they showed you and not them as a person themselves, then you're obviously going to need to get to know a different version, right?
Yeah.
Which is why there's a statistic that a lot of people, say like they're a couple, they're married or they've been together, they're dating, and if one of the people in that couple decides to all of a sudden change their lifestyle, right? Go to the gym, get fit, eat healthier. The likelihood of that relationship ending, whether it's marriage or just dating, the likelihood of it ending is extremely high. I don't remember the statistic, but it's above 60, 70%.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about that necessarily with Simon, but it's just how to deal with people around you.
Right. And this doesn't have to be people that you're necessarily close to, but also people that you're stuck with.
Exactly. Because there's a difference where you can if it's a relationship, you can technically you can end it, or that's an option, right? If it's your parents, you can't necessarily end it. If it's your siblings,
you can't.
They're still your siblings, right? So go ahead. That's my little intro for you. Take it away.
Well, this is a kind of an issue that's been around for a very long time, but I'm more prone to dealing with it, or like it's been only recently actually that I how do I put it? That I've been trying my best to work on dealing with it, whereas before I just let it slide, and there comes a point where you just have to deal with it. Anyway.
So pause for a second. Can you explain what you mean by let it slide and explain what you mean by deal with it?
Okay, so
it might help, just total suggestion, if you like give an example and then maybe say how you would deal with it if you were going to let it slide.
Yeah.
And,
this might also confuse people because I think I mentioned this to you and you said no, there's a difference between, but I'll explain it. Say, you're one type of person who likes to
talk about yourself, buddy.
Yeah, okay. All right.
We know what
okay, so about a few months ago, let's say, I wanted to... Oh, okay, that was pretty difficult. Okay, sorry.
I'm fine. It's very funny to hear you try to get like personal.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to like, I hear the gears in your head trying to figure out how to say it.
Talking about our feelings, guys.
Talking about our feelings, buddy. Okay, someone in your life and you.
Yes, someone in my life and me.
Go.
So, say I want to do something, like either go for a run or say there are commitments that they think I should have, but I don't want to because I've committed to doing something else.
Ooh.
And
okay, they want you to spend time with them, and you have a commitment to go running. Be specific, okay?
Right, sorry, and I have a commitment to go running. And that then, in the past, I would let it, when I say I let it slide, I mean I would cater to them just so they can be happy and just so that I wouldn't have to deal with confrontations and arguments and things like that.
Yeah. You didn't want to rock the boat.
I didn't want to rock the boat, and I also just didn't want to... But also, by doing that, I kind of let myself be pushed around in terms of only doing what they want. And now, recently, I've been trying to deal with it, and by trying to deal with it, quote, what Francesco just said, I kind of rocked the boat. So... what happened?
You splashed those waves.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
What happened a few days ago, and so what happened a few days ago is that this person would constantly badger me with questions that I just don't have time for and don't have, I just don't feel like answering because they're not questions that should be a sole motivation for doing things. And what I mean by that is I'm doing something. I don't know if you want to
I feel like we can talk about a very, very common thing that people can relate to is, financial, right?
Financial, yes.
Like, are you making money? How much money are you making,
Yeah, and all that. And, when you do something financial, yes, you should be thinking about that because that's always going to be important, but it shouldn't be the only reason, and you shouldn't only think about that.
I'm sorry, I should say you career-wise.
Career-wise.
Right.
And this person, all that person has on their mind is, oh, are you going to make money? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Instead of just saying, oh, that's really cool, let me know how that goes. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. And while sometimes she does say it, she also says it in such a negative way that it makes
you feel even worse.
It makes you feel even worse.
Simon, it's cute that you do that.
No, she'll be
That's
more.
Great.
It's more like, wow. It's more like, people have. She said this to me actually. She's like, the person. She's like, people have tried many things before and it didn't work out. So don't worry
it's
if this
fine
doesn't
if the
work
thing
out.
You're doing now fails.
But I just want to know, do you think
awesome.
you can make money off of it? And then I got annoyed. I was like, I've told you a million times, stop asking me questions. Stop telling me, I specifically told you, I'll tell you if there's any news, but asking me every time isn't going to help. And so she's like, oh, yeah, I know. And she just dropped it. And then, 2 days after, I was in the kitchen, she was in the living room, and she was talking about how the world isn't fair, how people suffer less, yet they have so much more, and the people who work their ass off still don't have a lot, and how people get sick, and why does this happen? Why does that happen?
Right.
And
why do you not cater to her and stuff like that?
Yeah, and basically, I just said, well, I don't know. Why do we have things? Well, there are things that the world has, we just can't explain. Why do we have COVID? Why do people get sick? Why do people have cancer? It's just a way of life. I don't know what you want me to say. And some could say that I was being unsympathetic, and some can say that I'm not sensitive to anyone's feelings by telling her that. But it's just the way I think, and I think I was just trying to get her to understand that. And also, when people go through these types of things, it's really hard not to also then feel what they're feeling, just because they're so negative on everything. And it just, especially when you live with that person, it's hard not to have it projected onto you. And so then I remember you were telling me that in a relationship, you could either make peace or, as you say, rock the boat. And depending on what you want, and now I know that I just have to accept the fact that this is the way this person is. I can't do anything about it because they're my family. And so I just have to make peace with it. Because I don't really...
Well, I mean, the biggest, and again, what we talked about when you brought this up earlier was basically just figuring out, is this someone that, do you have to cater to this person slightly, or do you have to not necessarily literally, but figuratively, do you have to live with them, right? Are they your roommate in college?
Yeah.
Are they, your partner at work that you're going to need to sit next to? Right. Are you forced to be with them, right?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then what you do is slightly different from if the answer is no.
Yes.
Right? If you go out, if you're dating someone,
it could always just
you don't have to be with them. Yeah, exactly. So the way you would handle those two situations are I would say in those relationships that you can end, whether you're dating someone or whatever it is, I would say rock the boat all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you got to speak your mind.
It's also important to recognize that people have their, characteristics and the way they deal with their own problems. And that a lot of the times it's not really about us, and it's not really us that they want the answers from, or that they want
That's
to do
true.
Right, they're just using you as an
things.
outlet.
They're using
Yeah.
you as an outlet, but what's also frustrating is they don't want to deal with it. They say they do, but really they don't. They just like to complain and complain and complain.
Right. And so I think you were saying something about like, you know, wanting, are you insensitive, or are you like, is this how you truly feel? I don't think that you're the kind of person who, you know, doesn't care if someone gets sick or, you know, whatever the case may be. But I think that, you on some level recognize that it's not really
It's not something you can
that
control.
this person,
or
well, yes, but it doesn't, like, if I came to you and like, Simon, like, I don't know, my so-and-so got cancer, and I'm like really sad about it, and this just happened and I'm like so distressed, I don't think you'd be like, oh,
Simon
I'm
would be
sorry.
like, suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah. You know, I think that I think on some level you're recognizing that it's not really within your power. How do I, you know, that it's not really in your power, and that this person is not really asking you for help. So, which, like what we said, you're just an outlet. And so I think that also changes how you see the situation, because I think it's very obvious to see when somebody really cares, or somebody's really asking for your help, and when they're not. I think it's obvious to see, but it's not obvious to recognize in a way. I think it's a lot of times subconscious, where you're like, oh, you know, and that determines how you react, because I do think that you would be caring if you actually got the memo that this is something that you needed to put in some sympathy
right. Well,
in.
I'll tell you this: what happened. So something happened to this person. Let's just say this person got sick, but person's better now, and yet people who are better, they still go, okay, why did this happen to me? Why this? Why that? And also, there are people that like that. There are people that like it when other people worry or feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Because they feel like attention and they feel wanted, right?
Yeah. And it's like,
But again, but this is all, I mean, we definitely keep talking about it, but this is all irrelevant to you.
Right.
This is like, you don't need to worry about any of that.
Well, yeah, but then I think, okay, because I don't want to feel sorry for this person.
Well, isn't that a way to identify whether you actually, if this is like your motivation for responding or not responding? Wouldn't that help you make the decision of, is this a relationship you want to keep or not? Because sometimes it's not as easy as like, yes, I want to build a relationship with this person, or no, I don't. I think these are some of, you know, recognizing when they actually want you and when they're just, for lack of a better word, using you for their own frustration. I think that can help you determine, you know, if this is a relationship you want to keep.
I think
pursuing.
there's in any relationship, whether it's dating or friends or anything like that, there's a initial phase, let's call it like the courting phase, right? Or the dating phase, where you're figuring out, you're learning about this person, right? By saying what we have previously said, I don't want to get across with that. I don't want people to think that I'm all for not compromising and not talking about things and not debating things. I'm 100% for that, right? But you have to enter into those, like the getting to know them phase with, you know, like speak your mind, try to see their perspective, compromise, you know, do all those things that are awesome, right? Mm-hmm. But you can only do that for so long until you have to make the decision, or like realize, is this person willing to meet me halfway, or are they only going to see it their way and not see it any other person's way? You know, like, are they open-minded?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, they're not open-minded, they're not willing to enter into, you know, constructive debate and things with me. Mm-hmm. Well, then that's when you have to make the decision of, okay, do I have to cater to this person and just keep the peace, or do I rock the boat? And if they continue to do that, then just cut ties. And
right, because every relationship should be give and take, right? So,
right. So you don't even have to make the decision of, do I need to cut ties or rock the boat, or you know, keep things cool, if they are willing to meet you halfway, because obviously that's ideal, right? Ideally,
right,
they'll see you, they'll like whatever. Even if you guys don't agree on everything, ideally you'll still have debates and discussions, and you'll compromise and do all that stuff, and you know.
But now let's also say that keeping peace, I guess, doesn't mean that you're also going to let them push you around.
Well, okay, that's perfect. So let's get into that subject. So let's assume that whether you've known this person for, a couple months or like they're a new college roommate or you've known them for years, let's assume that you got to the point where it's like, all right, you realize they're going to do what they do. They're not open-minded to any other perspective. Now you have to make the decision, right? Do you rock the boat?
Right.
Or cater to them. And if you're forced to be around them, if you cannot just dump them, if you're not just dating them, then you have to sort of cater, right? So let's figure out like what does that mean to sort of keep the peace without necessarily letting them walk all over you.
Yeah.
Right? Do you have any thoughts on that, Simon?
I'm still trying to figure it out. So as I go.
Well, I'll say a thing, and then maybe Melissa, you have an idea. I think you have to. So you can be friends with someone. I'm trying to like figure out two different words. I think you can be friendly with someone, or I should say you don't necessarily need to be friendly with someone to be acquaintances, right? To be family, to be loved ones. I don't know. I feel like if your priority is not to build a relationship, if your priority is to just keep the peace, then you have to sacrifice the relationship that you want to build in order to keep the peace, right? So I don't know if my roommate from college, let's say, if they bring in, I don't know, if they do something that bugs me, if I want to build a relationship, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know if they play like really loud music, let's say. If I want to build a relationship, my reaction would be different what am I trying to say? It would be different from if I just wanted to keep the peace. If I didn't really like them, but it's like, okay, I got to live with this person for another 5 months. Like, sigh, you know what I mean? Melissa, any thoughts?
I think I was going to go more specific, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Go.
So in my household, I view myself as the most organized, compartmentalizing person. Like for me, everything has to have a structure, an order, a place, whatever. And that also helps with vision, knowing where you put things, but also it's just how I like to work. And in my home, I'm the only one who does this to this extent. And so I've kind of just had to say to myself, okay, this is not going to happen in this house because it's not my house. And also these people just, even if I'm like, hey, person, can we have a conversation and can we do this? And they're like, oh, okay, sure. And then like next morning that doesn't happen. And so I think for me, it's just kind of certain things have been like, this is just not going to happen in this house. So I just have to suck it up, for lack of a better term, until I can be at a place where I can have my own, my own order, my own way of doing things.
But
that's a really good example, actually.
And I think it's hard, especially when you are, I don't mind giving my age. I'm 24, but I've lived other places, besides from my home. And I think that's given me a good perspective of when you're a kid, you think it's your house and like, yeah, it's my family's house, but really you're living under the rules of someone else and you're not necessarily going to match up, especially when you grow up. So I think sometimes that line can be blurry of like, what does this mean? Like I have different wants and needs, but wait, I'm in my family. Shouldn't we all want the same thing? But it's actually
or shouldn't they necessarily cater to you because that's what you want?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's kind of hard to recognize this, especially if you have not left as I have, your place where you live. And so, I think I lost my train of thought. What is with me today? But I think my point was that realizing that you are in someone else's home, if you have not left and moved out yet, it's not really going to be how you want it, because the house, I guess it's different if you've moved and stuff, but the house is going to be organized and set up by the person who originally bought all the furniture. They would have picked the furniture because you were too little, so things are already structured to suit this person, as you will probably structure your home to suit you when you, and I mean anyone, not just Simon, move out or get to a place where you're comfortable. So I think recognizing that, yes, this is not a roommate, but I'm still technically living with someone else. And even though we're related or we're close, it does not mean that we have the same needs or values.
Right, and you guys didn't choose to live with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And that doesn't
You
mean
guys
you don't
are
love
forced.
each other or whatever,
No,
but
no,
it's,
no.
yeah.
Yeah. You're forced to live together, which means you have to make compromises that you know. Like that's a perfect example. Let's contrast that example with if you were now sharing a house with someone that you chose to room with, right? Whether it's, say, like a friend from college
Oh, yeah.
is sharing the house with you, but it's your house. And, you know, they're just like staying for the semester or something, and they do the same thing. You know, they like don't put things back where you want them. I don't know. They do any, the specific thing they do doesn't actually matter. The fact is they're doing something that is, you know, is destructive to your accessibility or whatever. They're doing something that you wish they would not do.
Yeah.
You would then, I would assume you would talk to them first about it, right?
Yeah,
Explain to them all the stuff like you did with your current situation. But if they continue to do it, your reaction would be different, right?
Yeah. And that's, I think, another distinction. Well, I guess maybe it's implied, but I've discovered, which I didn't think would be the case, people who I really enjoy as friends, I don't enjoy as roommates, or people who I didn't expect to get along with. I had a really good roommate situation. And so, what was my point?
You definitely learn a lot about someone.
I think my point overall is, if you like someone as a friend, family, whoever, it doesn't mean that you have to like all parts of them. And there are certain situations in which this person will be convenient to you, and others where this person's way of being, you might like it, but it just might not mesh with that current thing that you're doing.
Right. So now both of your situations, if both of you want something different than what you're getting, right? But also both of you are not in a position where you can demand that, and if that's not given to you, then you can say, well, okay, get out. You know? So, you know, so and it would also be different if you guys were able to go, right? If you guys were like,
if I was able to leave,
dough,
I'd leave. Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, this is not founded by any research or anything, but I personally feel that the older people are, the less likely they are to change their ways, especially if they are older relatives. But I feel that's why I enjoy also working with children, because I feel like, you know, they can explore and
they're very moldable.
Yeah, moldable. Which
I mean, this goes into the whole reason, like the whole thing of habits that we talk about, right? Which is why it's awesome to build habits. Even, I mean, all these episodes that we talk about, whether it's like eating, you know, like nutrition or health or fitness or anything like that. Once you build a habit, the hard part's done, right? But in this current example, all these people have their own ways of doing things, which are habits
that they've formed for years and years.
Yeah, you cannot expect them to have the objectivity to respect other people's way of doing things enough to then change their ingrained habits that they might have been doing for decades. Right?
I love that. I love that we said that.
So,
but then, like, for example, there also comes a point where there are certain things people are bothered by that have nothing to do with them. Like, for example, a few days ago, I was in my room upstairs and I had the lights off. And it was getting darker, but I didn't bother turning the light on. Now, I had a reason for that, but the person was... I would then go downstairs to get water. This person's like, why do you have the light off? Why are you sitting with the light off? Why are you...
But that's also them projecting their habits built over decades of years onto you, and they're thinking that you should be doing the same things that they're doing.
Right. And then, but then in that case, still, do you try to explain, or in order to keep the peace, do you just turn on the lights just so they'd shut up? But yeah.
That's a you decision. But what I would say is don't engage, meaning don't get into a whole explanation of why you do it, because then that's taking away from your own energy and your own effort, right? The whole point is trying to keep the peace, but also not trying to commit a ton of mental energy into it, right?
So
I would,
for Simon and maybe anyone else, I just want to acknowledge that that is really hard to do. And I've had situations where like
not
recognize that you are engaging, because I've had another situation with other people that I would be talking to and everything would be great. And all of a sudden things turn in a direction where they're arguing something against me that I don't even want to be arguing. And we've talked about this too. And it's like, just don't engage. But sometimes it's really hard to even know what constitutes as engaging.
But then even then, like, oh, sorry, go on.
Well, so I just want to say being conscious of it is the first step, which is why I'm saying it.
That's a very good point. Most people do not realize when they are getting defensive or engaging.
Right. But even in that situation, like, even if I didn't say anything downstairs then, but then after I go back up, do I do what they want and turn on the light or not? And
so
like
that's a you answer that I think would depend on who it is. What I would say is there are multiple correct answers, right? You can either just say, okay, and then go up and not turn it on. You can say, okay, go up and turn it on. You can tell them to go turn it on. Like there's simple and like things that does not take a lot out of your brain, right?
See, what I would
getting into a discussion about it is taken out of your brain. That's what I would not do.
Right.
But whether you turn it on or off,
said is because I like it and tried to move on. But I think you would say that is also defending.
I did say that, but yeah.
Right? Like, would you say that is also getting into a discussion because you're stating an opinion now that can be argued?
Did you ever say that because you don't need it?
Yes.
Me specifically?
Simon?
Or him?
Simon? I don't remember, but I'm not sure. I think I might have. Then they're just like,
forget.
but then they'd be like, even if I did it, I know the response, because they'd be like, oh, what do you mean you don't need it?
I'm blind. I don't need lights.
To them, I'm not, because I can see light.
But it's not usable. You don't read books.
Right.
With the light.
Right. But see, then that is getting into a discussion.
Yes, but see, I would with any issue, I wouldn't just be short as a default, right? When the issue first comes up, I would do I would explain my perspective, and I would take the time to do it, but I would not continue doing it as it keeps coming up.
Oh, I see.
Maybe if you had said that it's not of any use to me, then it's it's not a matter of if you can see it or not, but it doesn't do anything for me.
Which is a fine one sentence answer you can give them.
It just raises your electricity bill.
Yeah.
Right. And they also get very touchy when it comes to the whole, I can't use it anyway, or the whole thing. So, yeah.
It's not useful to me.
Yeah, but they get very in denial and very like defensive.
But again, that just because unless you draw it in the way that it affects you, right? You're not in control of how they feel.
Right. Right.
Or you need to worry about how they feel. So I would even phrase it differently, like what you just said. What, like them getting touchy, how does that affect you?
Then we get an argument, and then they just...
I mean, can you say okay and just walk away?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's different. It's different per person, and it's different on the exact issue, right?
Right.
The point is the mindset that changes. The mindset is no longer I'm trying to get them to understand my perspective. It does not matter if they understand or not once you decide your goal is to keep the peace.
True.
Right? The thing that becomes the important priority, that becomes keeping the peace, in which case...
Can that be stated in a way that I'm going to say something that is true, but also crisp enough that just satisfies them? Or would you not say that?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
Okay. I also had another question.
Yeah.
It's related. When you were talking about the couples, I'm curious to know if you don't say I was dating someone who is super into fitness and I'm not. If I'm active, if I would understand if it would go wrong or, not work. If I'm like, hey, let's go get pizza every Friday or something. I understand that. But what if I'm not getting in the way of it? I'm just not doing it.
What do you mean? You're not getting in the way of what?
Like, I'm not telling, my person, no, don't eat the salad, eat this burger, or like, no, don't go to the gym, go somewhere with me. Like, I'm just not going to go to the gym with you.
I mean, that's specific to the relationship, right? I would say figure out what your priorities are, and figure. Well, first of all, you go getting pizza every Friday isn't necessarily. I wouldn't say the level of tolerance, just the level of everyone has things that they're willing to accept and things that they're willing not to accept. You know?
Yeah.
But so
it doesn't necessarily
wasn't it implying that like if you become different people, then you don't connect, or that you want to be doing things that the other person doesn't want to be doing, and
it's partially you just lose things that you used to do that like in common, right? It also changes priorities in life. And it could start building resentment, like, you know, hey, in 20 years, I don't want to have to start taking care of you because you're completely chronically ill. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it could raise a bunch of resentment, it could raise a bunch of emotional stuff. Like, it's not as clear cut as, oh, she always wants me to go out to pizza every Friday, therefore I will break up with her, you know?
I feel like that's the thing with high school relationships. Again, I mean, because, you know, well, when people are in high school, they think, oh, I want to stay with this person forever, or whatever. That's just a stereotypical thing. And it's like, well, you people haven't grown as people and know what you want to then, because you guys can be two different people in the future. And I like people have trouble understanding that.
All of us who are like the 17-year-old versions of all of us are completely different than the current age of all of us, right?
I'm still the same in some ways, but I'm different in others. And
which, if you had met someone who you clicked with, whether they be a friend or other something else at 17, you could still be friends with them now, but you also may not be friends with them now, you know?
Right.
And it's not one is not necessarily more correct than the other. It's just how humans grow. Right.
And that's why, you know, well, personally, that's why I wouldn't get married until I think people shouldn't get married until they're older.
Wait, how old are Simon? This is important.
Well, until you think you really figured out what it is you want out of life.
What does that mean, Simon?
I would say...
Are you judging my lifestyle choices?
No.
I mean, preferences?
I would say maybe late 20s, but early 30s, but that's just me. Okay, that's just talking about me, because... but I don't know if... You know.
Yeah, no,
see, I would argue that there are a lot of people in their late 20s, early 30s that are as clueless as people in their teens.
Oh.
Yeah.
So my opinion, what I would say is it's more important to judge when you're ready or not by how much you know the person.
Oh yeah, Francesco, there was. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say like a big step with that, I feel, is living with them, because you'll learn a lot about someone by living with them. You'll learn a lot about their not presentable side. You'll learn a lot about how they compromise, because you'll inevitably, you know, like, you don't want to avoid conflict in a relationship, right? The whole point of a relationship is you enter into conflict and figure out how that other person deals with the conflict, right?
And the problem is that I've seen a marriage that is just so, I don't want to say kind of dysfunctional, but to me, like right now, I'm making sure that I don't have the life that these people have when I become their age, because I don't want to look back and say, oh, I regret so much, and I regret because this is what I know people that are doing that now, and like, I really hope that I'm not that person. I would argue that has. Yeah. I would argue that it has a very, very little to do with age.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with mindset.
Fun story. Francesco and I have been friends for quite a while, and I think our friendship has always worked pretty well. And I've mentioned that I wasn't always living with my, I guess, blood family. And there was a situation where... it was not okay for us to, I don't know, hang out together or go to somewhere because you were a male under 25 years old, or 35. I think 25.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I trust me. This was a thing. I had issues hanging out with you for extended periods of time because you were male and under 25, because apparently. men under 25, their brain has not developed fully and they just scientifically cannot make rational decisions.
True.
True.
Very true. Still can't make rational decisions.
Well, I mean, I'm still alive and we've hung out in many places and for a long time, and I have never really felt uncomfortable around you. So, and you know, Simon and Andrew as well. But I think this had to do a lot with because we were like traveling a lot, like taking the trains and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that you were always a very practical person.
Well, I think actually
Whatever.
that's the same with me actually in terms of our relationship, you and I, Chesco. I think, yeah, your practicality is probably what. Well, all to say that like same with Melissa. I've grown to be like comfortable, so it's interesting like how our relationship works very well, or at least I think.
But going back
yeah.
to just, you know, it's, I don't think age really, because, you know.
Oh, okay, that was your point. I was trying to figure out what you were trying to say. Get to
Yeah, because you were
No.
under 25, and so that means, how old are you? Yeah, you're 25,
He's
now,
25
right?
now.
So I only should have started hanging out with you, like, last year.
Oh yeah, all I have to say again. I mean, people get divorced when they're 20. People get divorced when they're 60, right? Like
Yeah.
people. I think you just need to realize that getting to know the person, and I mean, it's nothing wrong with people growing apart,
No.
right? Just I think objectivity is something that is lacking in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So I don't remember.
You know, 10 years of friendship, man. Like, I'm not going to throw that down the drain. It's been a long time.
So go ahead, Simon.
yeah.
Did you have any other?
Uh,
How do you
No.
feel?
Yeah, how do you feel, buddy? You feel peaceful?
yeah, I mean, I feel fine. Yeah.
Do you feel confident in your methods that we have suggested?
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I do. I just basically, I'm just going to accept that this person is not going to change and I can't do anything about it. So I'm just going to.
I just want to let you know that it is extremely hard to remember that in the moment.
It
yeah.
is. That's true.
Remembering that your goal is not to change them, but to just keep the peace.
Yeah.
That remembering that, even just that one thing, when you're being confronted by a situation with them, is almost impossible. I mean, I shouldn't say almost impossible. It is extremely difficult.
I've heard that if you make your password a phrase that you want to, like a chant, like, I don't know, I will not drink soda, then you're less likely to drink soda. I don't know if that's true, but feel free to use it. Maybe it'll help you.
Yeah.
Maybe there is something to do with mantras before every like big event or race or anything like that. We have
Make your
mantras.
password, and I'm totally going to know your password. Like, you know, I will, like this, I'm not trying to make friends with this person or something.
Right.
Sugar.
And I know.
It's going to be a very strong password.
And I know, Francesco, we've talked about issues in the past where I would revolve my decisions or base my decisions on what this
Other
person
people.
would say or that person would say. And yeah, that's also
Yeah.
what I've been trying to deal with. But that also plays into what we just talked about. So,
Right. Which, again, we're not saying in a healthy relationship there should and are included like compromise and all these different things. We're not saying
Yeah.
don't do that. We're just saying in this specific
situation, it's just pointless. Yeah.
it just compromising. The whole point of compromising is both of you giving up something to then meet in the middle, right?
Right.
But if one person's not giving up anything and the other person is giving up everything, that's not compromise, right?
That's like a
Right.
song. You should start a song on that. But anyway.
Yeah. So awesome. Any closing thoughts?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
You asked us to give a tip on how to do, remember you asked us any tips on how to do your task or you do your craft or whatever, but then
Oh,
we
this
started
is back to
talking.
the motivation thing.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Okay.
but I remembered and
Rewind to motivation.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we talked away from that. My thing would be just to watch or listen or engage with the content that initially inspired you, whether that's an artist, musical or otherwise, or some book or, you know, some content or something, because I think your inspirations you might like bounce off of it, which is not good for the whole getting out of your comfort zone part of art, I guess, specifically, but I think it might at least inspire you to contribute to the conversation in which you'd like to take part.
That's a very good. That's actually very good. I'll tie it to athletics. A very common thing with athletes, especially professional athletes, later on is burnout, and they just completely burn out of their sport.
Yeah.
And the most common way that burnt out professional athletes will get back into their sport is going back to the roots of why they did it in the first place. And for example, with cycling, right? If you're just burnt out as a bike racer, just take a week and just ride some trails, you know, ride the parks. Just don't worry about training. Do a fun, you know, well, there is no such thing as a fun race because I always get competitive, at least for me. But, you know.
I've had points where I wasn't really even motivated to do my schoolwork, and I decided to watch a show that I really like. And it's weird, but it kind of gave me this, like, it put me in the mindset that I like. And then I was better able to do even the things that I didn't like, because it kind of gave me the kind of energy that I like to have.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This was good.
This was.
Very good.
Yes.
Good stuff, guys. All right. So clearly this podcast not only discusses fitness and books and other things, we go deep sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
We go deep into the feelings.
Yep.
The emotional minefield.
Yes.
So if you would like some more of that, subscribe.
Yep,
and if you have issues or something that you would like us to discuss on the future podcast, hit us up. We are on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, @RunWithChestnut. And leave us a 5-star rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, please.
Yep.
We should start doing like review contests, but anyway, maybe. Anyway, moving on. It's a good time, guys. This is episode 19. We're almost at 20.
Yes.
Whoa.
We're almost at 20. Not yet. This is 19. Anyway, for Melissa from Montenegro, for Simon from Brooklyn, my name is Francesco, and see y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.